Welcome to Savitani's lecture cast in anatomy. We're going to learn about the body and the lesser wing of sphenoid. The sphenoid is an unpaired, irregular pneumatic bone present in the base of skull. As you can see in the picture, it is wedged between the various bones of the skull. It is either bat or butterfly in shape. The parts of a sphenoid are it has got a body, two lesser wing, two greater wing, and two pterygoid process. As you can see in the pictures, the various views of the sphenoid and the parts of it. Moving on to the body is cuboidal in shape. It has got 6 surfaces: superior, anterior, posterior, inferior, and 2 lateral surfaces. The body of the sphenoid, the superior surface, anteriorly it is attached to the ethmoid bone. We have the jugum sphenoidae, which forms part of your anterior cranial cavity. Behind this, we have the sulcus chiasmaticus, above which is the optic chiasma seen. Behind, we have the tuberculum sellae. The lateral parts of the tuberculum sellae will form the middle clinoid process. Behind the tuberculum sellae, we have the hypophyseal fossa or the pituitary fossa, which has the pituitary gland. Behind it, we have the dorsum sellae. The lateral end of the dorsum sellae is projected to form the posterior clinoid process, which has the attachment of the attached margin of your tentorium cerebelli. Behind it, it descends down to form a smooth clivus, which is related to the upper part of the pons. Moving on to the anterior surface of the sphenoid. The anterior surface has got a sphenoidal crust which articulates with the ethmoid perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. It forms the roof of the nasal cavity, and by the sides of it we can see the opening of the sphenoidal air sinus. Moving on to the posterior surface. The posterior surface is rough and it articulates with the basilar part of the occipital bone. It forms a primary cartilaginous joint which fuses by the 25th year. Moving on to the inferior surface. The inferior surface is marked by the sphenoidal rostrum, which articulates with the ala of the omer, and lateral to it we can see the vaginal process. Moving on to the lateral surfaces. The lateral surface will give attachment to the root of the greater wing of sphenoid, and above this we can see the carotid sulcus. The terminal part of the internal carotid artery is seen in the carotid sulcus. Behind it, we have a small tongue-like projection called as the lingula. These are the features present in the body of the sphenoid. Moving on to the lesser wing of sphenoid. The lesser wing is formed by 2 triangular plates projecting from the anterior superior part of the body. In between the 2 roots, which is attached to the body, we have the optic canal. The optic canal transmits your ophthalmic artery and the optic nerve. Moving on to other features of the lesser wing, it has got 2 borders: an anterior border which articulates with the orbital part of the frontal bone, a posterior free border. The medial end of the posterior border is called as the anterior clinoid process, which gives the attachment to the free border of the tentorium cerebelli. The lesser wing has got 2 surfaces: the superior cerebral surface, which forms part of the anterior clinoid cavity, and the inferior orbital surface, which forms part of the roof of the orbit. Here we have the origin of 2 muscles, the superior oblique and the levator palpebrae superioris. Between the lesser wing and the greater wing of sphenoid, we have the superior orbital fissure. These are the various features of the lesser wing. Thank you.